Hey gang, Blankenstein here from Sonic Trinity Studios. Hope you guys are having an outstanding day. This is the first video in a 5-part series that I'm putting together. This video is going to be how to create templates in PreSonus Studio One. The techniques that I'm going to be showing in this video could be applicable to other digital audio workstation software that you may be working in. So if you would like to see more videos from this, please click that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification bell so you'll be notified of any future videos from yours truly. So thank you very much for subscribing. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you back here in a minute. Hey gang, we're back. So now we're going to be creating a template in PreSonus Studio One. Templates can be used in a variety of applications. It can be used for recording, it can be used for mixing, it can be used for mastering, and also other DAWs you can create templates in. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So if you're new to Studio One and you want to connect your audio interface, just a real high level, there are videos out there that will go into more in depth in that, but we're not going to do that in this video. But I will show you a quick and easy way of connecting your audio interface to PreSonus Studio One. So once you connect your audio interface, either via USB or Thunderbolt, you would go down here to configure audio devices, and hopefully your interface would show up in the playback device or recording device drop-down menu. As you can see, I got a couple of them in here. Mostly it's the IO Station 24C, which is by PreSonus. It's like a fader board on steroids. And also my Universal Audio Thunderbolt interface. So as long as you can see them there, you can select them. And then you can select your latency settings here, which we will not go into on this video, but there are tons of videos that actually go into more greater detail on the latency. So more to come on that. So once you have that in there, then you're pretty much good to go. Click OK. So the first thing you want to do is click New Song. And you want to set up your new song as a template. So you want to give it a name. So we're going to do STS recording template. I'm going to say with plugins. All right. Pick a location where you want to store it. Sample rate, you can leave it at 44.1 or you can select 48 kilohertz. That's usually the industry standard for both of those. Any higher that you can go there, honestly, if you can hear the difference, you're doing a lot better than me. Resolution 24 bits, good. Time base, I personally like it set at bars because I'm using song length. Keep it at 5 minutes. You can always change this after the fact. Tempo is 120 beats per minute. Again, you can change it after the fact. And time signature, I like to keep it at 4/4. Key signature, I'm not quite sure yet. Don't worry about it. You can leave it as is. I always like to enable the stretch audio files to song tempo because this allows any audio that is recorded onto the track. If you change the beats per minute, it will automatically stretch the audio out to compensate for that change in the beats per minute. One tip though, when you change your BPM on a song, I would recommend not going no further than 10 beats per minute faster or 10 beats per minute slower. If you go any more than that, the audio will seem to be distorted. It'll sound kind of distorted, very weird sounding. So just a pro tip there. All right, so once you have that down, click OK. So you're presented with a blank page. The next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to go into some settings here in the track. And these are just my personal settings that I like to set up on a template. You can have your own settings. It's all customizable. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to select, I like a marker track. I like an arranger track. I like a chord track. All right. So the markers, of course, you set your markers throughout the timeline. You can set your arranger track. The arranger track is basically you can select a section in the song and actually give it a name. Like you can have this section as intro, verse, chorus, so on and so forth. You can color code them. You can name them. You can custom name them, however you want to do it. The chord track is very handy to have. Any audio that you record here, you select follow, it's going to display the chords up here of that audio track. So it's, from what I've seen, it's about 90-ish% accurate. It's a good starting point. You can always go back in here and correct anything that it may have missed or reported incorrectly. All right, let's go ahead and set up some tracks. Oh, hang on, before we do, I almost forgot. So let's go in settings. So usually this is all set by default, but just in case, I like to colorize my track controls. I like to show my channel numbers. I like to show event names. I like to show the chords on events. Any others I keep unselected, like solo follow selection. If I select a track, I don't want it to automatically solo. Instrument input follow selection. That means if I create an instrument track, it's going to automatically arm it. Audio input follows selection. So let's go ahead and add a track. Now, there's a couple ways to add tracks. You can add it by selecting this plus sign up here, or you can right click. But before we do that, I like to go ahead and set up a drum track first. My VST instrument of choice is Easy Drummer by Toontrack. It's very good to have, very easy to work with. You know, set up a groove in the right tempo, lay it down there, and for me, it's a lot more pleasant to play to that groove than it would be a metronome. I'm still having PTSD, being a small child, taking piano lessons and seeing the metronome. So anyway, all right, so we're going to just grab Easy Drummer here. Again, if you're interested in Easy Drummer or Superior Drummer 3, please check it out. Go to toontrack.com, check them out. You can download a demo. If you like them, they're just very awesome to have. All right, so we're just going to click and drag Easy Drummer into this track here. Just set up a real quick drum kit. Again, you can go into the groove section of this software and just just a MIDI drum groove, and just click and drag it into the instrument track here. All right, so we'll go ahead and name this. All right, so now we're going to add tracks. So now I'm going to add audio tracks. Right click, select audio tracks. I'm going to call this bass, and I like my basses to be red. Type is audio, means it's going to be a WAV file as opposed to instrument, automation, or folder. I want audio. I want 2 of these audio tracks, and I'm going to pack them into a folder, which means that it's going to automatically create 2 audio tracks and then create a folder and pack them in there. So it's really cool. Format, I'm going to keep it as mono because bass is mono, and keep the rest of it as is. All right, see how it created 2 audio tracks here and then created a folder. Let's go ahead and keep going. Let's do E guitar, audio track, and I'm going to select a green, mono tracks for that. All right, and I'm just going to create one more just for simplistic's sake here. All right, we're going to do keyboards or keys, however you want to. 2 audio tracks, I'm going to select purple for that. All right. And there's my keyboard tracks. Now this is a very simple template, of course. You can be as simplistic or as complicated or complex as you feel the need to, whatever works for your workflow. With that, I'm going to go ahead and show you what the mixer section looks like. On Mac, shortcut for the mixer is Fn and F3. I'm not quite sure what it is on PC. I haven't been on PC in quite a few years. So anyway, you can select a mixer section through this button here as well. A couple settings on the mixer section that you may want to take a look at, just personal preferences. First one is, by default, it's going to keep the effects channels to the right, which means it's any effects channels that you create, it's going to slide them over to the right. Keep bus channels to the right. Now this is a personal preference part. you can actually keep this, select this, and any buses that you create, it's going to keep them over to the right. Personally, I like to keep my buses adjacent to my tracks that I create. Okay, and I'll show you what that looks like here in just a second. I like to colorize channel strips, colorize the plugin header. I like to enable the input controls. Of course, this is adjustable by any instrument that you plug into your interface that's going through this particular track. You can adjust the input level of it. I also like to enable my channel notes just in case I need to put any notes down here. Now, creating buses. Very cool. Select your tracks. Right click, add bus for selected channels. Boom. All right, so we're going to call this base bus. So if you're not familiar with buses, just a quick overview. Buses allow you to control multiple channels, volume, panning, and I can also add plugins to the bus that will affect the assigned tracks. Assigned channels. I keep getting it all mixed up. Anyway, I record 2 bass tracks, and I can control the bass track by using this volume slider, control it by using this input gain, it's this input gain, but this bus, I can control the overall volume of these 2. Also, if I want to put an EQ or a compressor or some type of effect on this, I can put it on the bus and it's going to affect both these at the same time. All right, so we're going to create just another bus here. And we're going to call this E-guitar. And we're just going to do another, and this is going to be a keyboard bus. You can change the color of these if you like, or keep them gray. I like keeping them gray because it makes them kind of stand out. All right. So now we're going to create a couple of effects channels. Now, effects channels are such as that. They're set up just for effects. You can't record on them. You can't manipulate them, but you can add effects plugins to these and adjust the send, adjust the volume, and adjust the panning of these. All right, so usually I like to set up at least 4 or 5 effects channels here because sometimes I like to stack effects on the buses or even add them to my channels here. All right, so we're going to call this a room reverb. Let's do a plate reverb. And we're going to do a delay. And maybe I want a chorus. And maybe I want some other type of, some other type of delay. Like maybe a slap delay. All right. Usually I like to colorize my effects a red, just so they stand out a little bit. All right. So now you can take your plugins on this side of Studio One, go to Effects here, and now you can click and drag, or you can select them from here as well. For instance, like the room reverb, I like to use this room reverb here. But you could use third-party plugins in here as well. I use a ton of third-party plugins, or you can stick with the old tried and true PreSonus stock plugins here. There is absolutely nothing wrong with these plugins. They're so good, especially with the new version, the version 5 and above. The plugins are so good now. They really got them straight. Plate reverb. There is a open air that I absolutely love to use a plate on here. These plates are so good. Medium plate, you can just do like an A plate on that. Very, very good. Very natural sounding, easy to manipulate, so it's really cool. The delay plugin in PreSonus has come a long way, baby. Did not used to be that good, but this one is really good. You can really do a lot in here. So I'd like to do like a spring reverb on one, and then take this one and do a slap. And don't be afraid to use presets. I know I'm probably going to get lambasted in the comments over because it's, oh, don't use presets. Don't ever use presets. Use the presets. Start off with the presets because that gives you a good starting point, and then you can adjust to your taste afterwards. But don't be afraid to play around with the presets because sometimes the presets are really good. So, and it saves you a lot of time. All right. So the chorus effect. The chorus, I haven't really, to be honest with you, I haven't really looked at it for a dedicated chorus effect in Studio One, but I do want to make a recommendation. Slate Digital has a really good chorus. Well, it's not really a chorus, but it's called a Verbsuite Classics. It's put out by Slate Digital. If you want to know about it, I could put a link to in the description below. Just go on there and check it out. Verbsuite Classics. It is a Swiss Army knife of reverb. So it's such an awesome plugin. So natural sounding. EQ section here. You got this section that got attack, got a pre-delay, got of course got a width. Got to get overall gain, a dry wet knob. Meter bridge, also tons of presets in it. Usually with all effects plugins, I like to do a what I call a high pass filter or a low cut around 200 hertz. That kind of prevents any kind of boominess or hollowness in the low frequency, or even what they call low frequency buildup due to the effect. Try that in your next mix and see if it cleans it up a little bit. All right, so we're going to chorus. I'm going to set this wide open, and I'm going to set my width about 2 o'clock. Gain 0, full wet. Right there it is. So now, if you want to set up effects to go to your buses or to your channels, like say for instance, like this bass bus, for instance, I want to put like a room reverb. I wouldn't suggest put a reverb on the bass, but sometimes you may want to. But I'm just doing this just for demonstration purposes. This room reverb is going to this effects channel. All right, so it's going to go here to here, back to here. This controls the amount that the room reverb affects this bus and therefore affects these two channels that are corresponding to this bus. All right. That's what I'm saying. You can actually view this as being what they call top-down mixing, or bus-based mixing is what they call it, where you're not putting plugins on the channels themselves, but you're actually putting just plugins on the bus that's going to affect those channels. Give it a shot. Some of the older computers, if you're working on like a PC or Mac that's kind of older, like this one, for instance, is a 2012. It's very old iMac. Even though it has 32 gig of memory, if I get into a high track count, I'm still going to see my CPU hitting the red, and I am going to hear those cracks and those stutters. So I usually tend to do a lot of bus-based, or what they call top-down mixing, because I use less plugins. Less plugins, less CPU usage, more efficient, less problems. So, and then you can also take these and you can also stack them. So for instance, like on my keyboard bus, I would like to put like a plate verb and a delay. All right, so we do plate verb and a delay. Then adjust the volumes to your taste. And they always say, if you can hear the effect per the mix, you have too much effects on it. Back it down. So unless you're really going for that type of effect, that you want that in your face. So kind of keep that in mind. Use effects sparingly. That's pretty much it. Oh, we got to save it. PreSonus usually does a save about every 5 minutes. It's set by default. I've just gotten into a habit of saving. Every time I make a change, I save something. I save the project or save the tracks. I always just get into a good habit of doing that, because no matter how much I love Studio One, no matter how much I love Mac, it's going to crash. At some point in time, it is going to crash. And it's going to crash at the most inopportune time. All right, so now we're going to save this as a template. So we're going to go File, Save as a Template. You can keep the same name that you already had prior to this. You can select you can put an icon in here. This icon is like a JPEG or a PNG, or you can put anything in there as long as it's some type of a graphic file. You can put a description on here if you want, and then once you have that, click OK, and now it's saved as a template. When you first launch Studio One and you want to go back to this template, I'm just going to close this on this, and we'll select No. So now, again, you want to set up a new song, you want to go back to your template you just made, select New Song, go to User, and then select your template that you just created. In his section, you can put in the song title, select the location where you want to save it, set this all up, good to go, click OK, and now you have your template. All right. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to please click that subscribe button, click that like button, and click that notification bell. I would really appreciate it. Always, always post your comments down below. I love to read your comments, and be on the lookout for the next videos in this 5-part series. Again, I'm Blakenstein, Sonic Trinity Studios. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Go forth and conquer.